Welcome back. This week, we're talking one-on-one with Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett about the surging crime stats in our city and his plan to use federal money from the American Rescue Plan to fight violent crime. Here's Courtney Crown.
They're laying their loved ones to rest. What do you tell them about is help on the way?
Well, yes, obviously it is. And it's going to be help that's on the way at levels and at a scope and at a scale that the city of Indianapolis has never before seen.
Mayor Joe Hogsett says the $420 million Indy received from the federal government enhanced his budget plans to address crime.
We probably wouldn't be having these conversations. We'd be having conversations about what our traditional operating budget in any particular year is able to afford and how we're going to try to stretch dollars.
According to a report on Indy's gun violence problem, the National Institute for Criminal Justice Reform says Indy's homicide rate remains about 3 times higher than the national and statewide rates and has since at least 2014. The day the report was publicly released, Hogsett called Indianapolis a, quote, extraordinarily safe city, but changed his tone at Monday's City County Council meeting when presenting the budget.
You called it an extraordinarily safe city. Do you still stand by that today?
Well, perhaps my word usage wasn't the best that it could have been. I do think my remarks last night underscore the seriousness that I bring to this effort, calling it a scourge and a plague. I think that the levels of gun violence in the city of Indianapolis are unacceptably high.
Since July 1st, at least 12 shootings erupted in downtown Indy, along with stabbings and seizures of illegal guns. Thankfully, no one was killed during a shootout at the end of June in a downtown parking lot, but people were still startled. Hogsett says the proposed increase of 100 new police officers and 50 additional peacemakers and violence interrupters will keep people safer in downtown.
I'm prepared to do anything and everything I can in the time I have remaining as mayor to eradicate the scourge of gun violence to the extent that we can.
Mayor Joe Hogsett there with our Courtney Crown. I'm joined now by our panel, former communications director for the Indiana Democrats, Jennifer Wagner, 2016 vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel. There you see IndyPolitics.org's Abdul Hakim Shabazz and also Insider's Adam Wren with us as well. Abdul, I'll start with you. The mayor took some grief for calling Indy an extraordinarily safe city. Indy Star columnist James Briggs called that a quote, dumb thing to say, but also said if the mayor can find the right solution, that's what matters most. Is this funding plan the right solution?
At the end of the day, unfortunately, I don't think so. Because I think at the end of the day, Dan, it's just another Band-Aid. Because you got to remember, this is American Recovery Act funding. This is not permanent funding. And so even though we're going to fund 100 officers down the road and also give more money to crime prevention, what do we do when the money runs out? This is like Bill Clinton back in the early 90s with his 100,000 cops on the street. Everybody got 100,000 cops, so the money ran out. And then those numbers went back down again. So I worry that once again, we're not looking at this really, really long term. Now, this is great to get you through maybe the next election, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to work.
Adam, let's talk about this funding. As some have noted, and Abdul mentioned there, it does come with a big infusion of federal money. This coming from the American Rescue Plan. What do you make of the funding, the political aspects of this as well?
Well, I think the mayor, in a lot of ways, took away one of the Republican Party's biggest talking points with this decision, and that's, the idea that they are for defunding the police. Senator Braun this past week made a national news appearance talking about how Democrats wanted to fund the police, not in his own backyard here in Indiana. The mayor is really sort of going to bat and saying, we're pouring all of this money in here, and police matter, public safety matters. This is of a piece with what President Biden has been saying. And so it's a real test case. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the White House make a visit, to Indianapolis in particular at some point to sort of make the case that they are not for defunding the police. And so, if any sort of Republican in Indiana makes that case, they're turning a blind eye to what's happening in Indianapolis, because I don't see a lot of police departments around the state of Indiana talking about defunding the police, and certainly now not here in Indianapolis.
Certainly crime will continue to be a big issue here in Indy. Speaking of federal funding, we're also talking about infrastructure this week. The Senate approving that bipartisan bill. Jennifer, were you surprised Senator Todd Young voted against it after initially voting to move ahead with the bill procedurally?
I was surprised to see that. I'm actually used to seeing Senator Young be pragmatic and not always cave to the pressure of the extremes in the Republican Party. But look, he got a lot of that pressure. He had phone calls being dumped in from national groups to his offices, and mail pieces and the like being sent out, and he caved. And that's the thing. Is he at risk of losing his reelection? Probably not, because we are a very Republican state. But this is the kind of thing that you don't want to do, to be able to be labeled a flip-flopper in politics. And he did it in a colossal way that actually, went against the best interest of our state.
Tony, your response to that, and how influential was the former president on this, pressuring some Republicans to vote against the bill?
Look, Senator Todd Young's going to listen to his Hoosier constituents first and foremost, and that's what drove these decisions. He was sincere in both his first procedural vote, because he wanted to work in a bipartisan fashion to provide infrastructure funding that's much needed, and he was sincere in his vote against the bill after the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, rated it, studied it, and released that it was going to raise the national deficit between $250 billion and $450 billion. It was also revealed that it was going to raise taxes. And then there were all kinds of other items that were put in the bill after that initial procedural vote. So he wasn't going to get hoodwinked, and that's what the Democrats were trying to do. And he did the right thing for Hoosiers.
Got to talk about the pandemic. Obviously very much top of mind right now with Indiana's numbers surging, and Adam, the IU vaccine requirement has really been making national news this week as well. Justice Amy Coney Barrett from Indiana, of course, dismissing a legal challenge to that requirement. What does this say about the overall legal landscape when it comes to vaccine requirements right now?
Well, I think chiefly what it says about Justice Amy Coney Barrett shows that a lot of sort of the liberal freak out that happened when she was selected by Trump was really unfounded in a lot of ways. In several decisions, concluding this one, she's shown herself to be an independent jurist, certainly part of the conservative wing of the court. But this really sort of shows that she is an independent thinking jurist in a lot of ways. With regards to the vaccine policy, she was so dismissive of the student's case at IU that she didn't even ask them for a response in this case. So fairly damning in terms of any future agency that these students will have in the future.
Abdul, your thoughts on that? And will we ultimately see more pressure for schools and workplaces to require the vaccine, and perhaps more mask mandates as well in the midst of this Delta surge? We're seeing more local school districts make that move now.
I think if we do see more mask mandates, it'll be schools and businesses. For example, Eli Lilly just put out a mandate this week to tell their employees either get vaccinated by November or go get another job. So if the government won't do it or can't do it for political reasons, I expect businesses in the private sector to, because you're not owed a job to anyone. You don't have a constitutional right to a job. And unless you're being discriminated against for religious or race reasons, the employer can mandate vaccinations and mask mandates. It's that simple.
Jennifer, does the state of Indiana need to do more at this point when it comes to masks and schools?
I think in particular in schools is the area that I'm the most concerned about. I have a 9-year-old who is not able to get vaccinated, who is back in school. So I would love to see a little bit more guidance offered and making sure that our youngest among us who can't get protected are protected. But I don't think the governor is going to change his stance on the mask mandate statewide.
Tony, what about states like Florida, where the governor has actually threatened to withhold paychecks for superintendents who impose a mask mandate? How do you defend a move like that? He did end up walking it back somewhat later in the week and taking back those threats. What did you make of that?
Well, I think Florida's been a leader for liberty for its citizens, and he's very thoughtful on every step that he takes. He knows that the CDC and the powers in the Biden administration aren't sharing all information. And going, what I mean by that, and also going back to the Amy Coney Barrett's decision, there needs to be a discussion about folks that have had the COVID virus and have recovered and have natural immunity, because those folks shouldn't be put in the same category as people that don't have natural immunity or the vaccine immunity. And that discussion needs to take place as we're talking about all of these.
I know you mentioned that last week. Certainly hard to track all of that. No doubt about it. A lot of complicated discussions still to come. All right, coming up next is Sunday in Focus, talking about a new report on climate change and an effort here in Indianapolis to try and find solutions at the local level. That's next.